Hello, very good evening. In previous class, we discussed about functions within PHP. We saw how we use functions with pass by reference and pass by argument types. Today, we will be learning about arrays. What are arrays? How we use arrays in PHP? What type of arrays exist in PHP? For example, within PHP, typically we use three different types of arrays: indexed arrays, associative arrays, or what we call multi-dimensional arrays. Okay, so we will be talking about all these three types of arrays in today's lecture, and we'll see a few examples of how we use these arrays. My name is Dr. Zeeshan. If you're here for the first time, don't forget to subscribe the channel, hit that bell icon so you receive the tutorials regularly. Let's begin. Arrays are typically known as a collection of similar data type. Whenever we talk about arrays basically means it's a way of collecting multiple data types together under one single umbrella. For example, you need to collect 10 different names. Okay, so instead of declaring 10 different variables to use 10 different names, we declare only one variable. So under one single umbrella, under one single variable name, under one single box, there are 10 different names available. That is why it is known as array is a collection of similar data. Okay, so it's a collection of similar data, so it has to be same type of data typically, and then it multiple data, but all those multiple data are represented by single variable. That is why arrays are different from variable. Before this, we have done examples of variables. Variables basically mean a single variable holding a single value. Okay, so if I come here and if I declare a PHP code and then bracket close, so when I declare a variable, basically we declare $ variable is equals to its value. So this is a single variable with containing single value. However, when we talk about arrays are typically known as containing multiple variables. So for example, array var is equals to, now we create an array that would contain typically multiple data type. For example, we give it something called array, bracket start, bracket close, semicolon, and then we give it some values. For example, as I said, multiple names. So let's just give it some name, Ali, brackets ahmed ahmad, brackets for example moed moeed, brackets for example ayan ayan, oops, sorry, ayan ayan. Okay, so now what we did, we created an array, okay, so now we created an array type that has multiple data, okay, all assigned to a single variable. Now this variable basically is considered as an array variable because we declared multiple arrays of this single type. Okay, this is how we basically use array. Now this is what basically means that this single variable would now be able to use all these variable types. Okay, all these data types, sorry, all these data are now accessible under single variable. How? Basically, if you come here, we use, for example, echo statement, the first name is, and then we go into dot, $ array var variable, bracket start, bracket close, okay, and then we give it the index number. Okay, now what is the index number? We give it a 0. What happens now is that we told this variable that go on to your array, and whatever element is on your 0 index, give me that element. Now when we store arrays with basically meaning storing multiple data, okay, so whenever we talk about arrays, it means that it contains multiple data. How do we then refer to with that multiple data? Because the variable itself is only one, there's only single variable that is allowed, so brackets are used. So whenever you see a brackets, basically it means you are accessing an array. That's the standard setup. This standard exists in every single language, whether Java, C++, or C#, whatever language you go, array basically are typically accessed using square brackets. Okay, so when we come here, we basically have declared an array that uses a simple brackets, and then because it contains multiple elements, each element is stored with a particular index number. So this is a 0 index, this is at 1 index, this is at 2 index, this is 3 index. This is again another built-in feature of an array. Every array element has built-in indexed. So there are 10 elements. The first element you put will automatically be assigned a 0 index. The second element will be at 1 index. The third element will be on the second index, and so on and so forth. So the first element always has a 0 index. The second element has a 1 index. So if I go and print this, echo, the second name is second name is, For a second name, I will use 1. Then for the third name, again, I would come and, print here and then print 4. So 1, 2, 2 and 3. And then for the third name, I would use the second index, and the fourth name, I would use the third index. So now once we go and print it, basically we are trying to print 0 Ali, 1 Ahmed, 2 Mueed, 3 Ayan. So we are printing the elements of our array all accessed through same variable name. So the variable name is same, but the index number of each element is same. This is called indexed array. Okay, this is an example of what we call indexed array TYP type. Okay, so this is a typical array of index type. If you have used it before, you would have seen this type of arrays, for example, in other languages as well. So let me just remove this. Now, if I execute it, I go back into my control panel. Let's just start Apache server. And once it is started, we will go on to our browser. And for example, on the browser tab, click here on a new tab. Once this is green, let's just type localhost, enter, to just ensure that the localhost is visible. Now, the file that we had available, I saved it as arrays.php in PHP class folder under xampp.htdocs. Okay, so this is where my file is saved. Again, all files have been saying saved there. So within my localhost, now I will come here and write PHP class /arrays.php, press enter, and arrays PHP is available. Okay, the first name, the second name, all are being printed here. So let's just go back into the code, and I think the better thing to do is let's add BR code in every single tag so we can read the name more clearly. Okay, and zip BR. Okay, in fact, HTML5 requires us to use this /. It's just like a standard, not a mandatory thing. It's like HTML5 standard. So we are trying to follow that now. Okay, so now you can see the first name is Ali, the second name is Ahmad, third name is Mueed, and Ayan. So what happened now is that we access the array elements individually, one by one by one. This is called indexed array, meaning that when you create an array, every element has been assigned automatically an indexed number or indexed value by which you access these elements. Okay, similarly you can create an array of numbers as well. So if I come here at $, array number is equals to array bracket start bracket close semicolon, and then you give number, whatever number you want to give to this particular variable. Okay, so as many numbers as you want, you can assign this thing here. Now basically it means that this is a number array. So at this 0 index there's 1, at 2 index there's this, and so on and so forth. So if I come back here and then I write an echo statement, and then I write BR and another BR. Okay, oops, let's just give HTML5 another chance, and then echo string number, I think, and then dot operator $, array number bracket start bracket close, and then 0 index. So when we give a 0 index, again it will go and fetch the 1. So if I come here, control C, I think let's just put the BR here as well, so that we have another new line. Okay, so come back here, print, and I think BR, sorry. Okay, so now if I give, for example, 3 here, this 3 basically means this is an index number. So this is 0, this is 1, this is 2, this is third index. So now it basically means it will go and fetch the character at a third index. So if I save it, come back here, it will fetch the 5th character, which is basically at third index, and 0 is basically 1. Okay, BR, okay, this BR is not working, control S. Okay, so even though, for example, if you have numbers like 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 and so on and so forth, it doesn't matter, because whatever data is there doesn't matter. The index number 0, 1, 2, 3 will also be assigned automatically. So if I go and print and hit a refresh, you see we get 1 and 4. We get 1 and 4 because at 0 index we have 1, that is why we get 1 here. At 3 index we get 4 value. Okay, so that is why we have 4 here. So the index numbers are irrelevant of what data there is. The index numbers can be data can be anything. Index number will always remain 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, this is how we create arrays. typically when we work with PHP, lots of content automatically is converted into array. We will talk about that in next class. Then let's go into add and discuss something called associative array. Okay, backslash ASSOCIA, associative array. Now associative array are again extremely cool way of basically creating arrays. Okay, what happens in associative array, that it creates a table form and then it assigns something called a key and its value. Okay, which basically means that you don't need a number now, but you in fact have a key and value now. For example, associative array. Okay, somehow my system is going absolutely crazy slow. So if I come in here, type in insert and create a table. So this, the way the associative array works, it creates a basic two-dimensional table. Okay, first thing is called key, and then second is basically known as element, or what we call the data. Okay, typical array, this key is index number 0 1 2 3 4 5. Okay, let me in fact write that. So for example, if I have this indexed arrays, and if I create a table, so instead of key we get what we call index number, and then say everything is same. Okay, this index number we have which always start from 0 1 1 2 and so on and so forth. Okay, 1 0 1 2 3 and so on and so forth. However, key is basically something that you assign it yourself. Key is something that you give yourself to this particular table. In other words, for example, if I'm creating the same name table, I can say name 1, and this would be, for example, Ali. Okay, I can say, for example, name 2. This would be, for example, Ahmed. Now what happened here is that this is my own custom key. This is not based on automatic index numbers. This is in fact what I have given. So I have given name 1, which is Ali, and name 2, Ahmed. And I can give any variable, any string here. In fact, any string can be my key here. In other words, I can even assign here Ali, and then I can give Ali, Ahmed. Okay, then for example, I can give Ahmed here. So Ahmed itself becomes the key. So whenever I want to find the data about Ahmed, I can get a data from Ahmed here. Okay, and then similarly I can give Ayan, and then I can say Ayan, and then I can give the data from here. So this time now the names itself have become the key, and I don't need to remember the index numbers. I can call any value by its name. This is what happens. So when you use associative array, basically you are creating an array that whose key is completely unique based on a string variable rather than basically index numbers. Within an index array, these numbers are automatically assigned. So in order to create this array, again same thing, dollar name array is equals to, we use an array function semicolon, and then within the here basically now what we need to do is we need to use, for example, inverted quotations Ali, and we give the first as an index number. Okay, so instead of index number, because now we are giving our own key, so first thing is we write our key, we use equal to greater than symbol, and then we give its value, which can for example be again another string, and this time Ali, Ami and Maiman, and so on so forth. Then we give the comma. Now again another key, so another key comes here, and Ahmedi Ahmed equal to greater than symbol, then again quotations, for example, can be Ahmed okay. Then the third key, so we give comma, again inverted quotations start double A Y N Ayan, and then after the quotations equal to greater than sign, and then again double quotations double A Y N BHA, for example, double TI. Now what happens here is the first is key, this is the assignment of element, this becomes the element member. Again this is what we call, or what we refer to as a associative array, in which index number, instead of index number we have our own index string. Okay, so now in order to print this, again the statement is very simple. We use echo statement, and the name is, we use dot sign, dollar sign, name array, brackets, same. Again all arrays use brackets, but now instead of what we call the number, or what we call the index number, okay, instead of using index number we now use the element key. Okay, so I will just use this key here. Now what it means that go inside this array, that contains various different things, various different elements. Inside it, fetch me an element of ID Ali. So this is ID now. This is the reference name. So this is the reference name that we created here. The value against this reference is this thing. So basically, it means that this is my key, this is my element, this is my ID or name, and the value against this is basically this one. Okay, so now Ali will be printed. Similarly, Control C, and I guess again let's hit that BR again, so that we, oops, sorry, Control Z and blum, BR again with HTML5 / standard, since we are following that for no good reason, and Control C, Control V, Control V. Okay, home echo, oops, come back here and come back here. Okay, now the name is Ali, and this time, next time if I want, I will print Ahmad. The third time I want, I will print the Ayan. Okay, what happens now is that Ali is basically key. So whatever data is in front of Ali will be printed. Whatever data is in front of Ahmad will be printed. Whatever data in front of Ayan is will be printed. So once we save it, go back into our code, hit a refresh. Basically, those names are printed. For example, we can have this. We can print even any integer number as well. So instead of Ali, I can use delete this. For example, I can assign certain values to it like this. So 2010, for example, or Ayan, instead of this string, I can give 2020. Okay, that may be any date of birth or any number or anything you want. So now what happens if I print it? This basically means that I have a key and I have its value. It can be number, it can be a float value, it can be a string. So any number, any element can be string. So as long as the key is always a string, remember that. So the key basically becomes the string value. This then can be number value. Now it means that when I use Ali, its value is this thing. When I use Ahmad as a key, the value is this thing. When I use Ayan as a key, the value is this thing. When we control save, print it, go and execute, the numbers are printed. So this is what we refer to in terms of indexed arrays, and this is what we refer to in terms of associate arrays, the most commonly used array types. Then we had used methods called post and get when we read the form data. Remember? The CV creator example specifically, the data that is passed from a HTML form to a PHP is always passed in an associative array format. That is why when we read the post method in our PHP, we give it the variable name. The name of the text fields are given. If I open the code which I had used previously, I will try to put the link in that our video as well. So if I read the function arguments, function arguments, sorry, PHP form. Okay, so these both files are there. If I open them, within these both files, you would find that we had used PHP echo post text field name, PHP post text. Now, PHP post basically is an associative array that contains text name. Now, this text name is basically an associative array representing the text field, and the data that is being sent from the form is now inside this variable as an associative array form. So if you come back here, remember we created input field text name, and when we send this data using post method, the data is sent as an associative array form. That is why the name of this text input field becomes the key, and whatever data or value resides in this data becomes the data itself, if you understand that. So the post method within PHP automatically uses the associative array. That is why we use this. We will be talking about post and get methods and how the data is processed through our browser in next classes. So be in touch with that. Okay. Hopefully it's a little bit self-explanatory and understandable how we do that. Now, how do we process this data? How do we print it? And how do we use this data? Obviously, you can, this is one way of using the data index numbers. You can change the data as well. So for example, dollar array number and bracket star bracket close. So for example, at one index or two index, if I type that, is equals to, I change the value to, for example, 2000, okay, semicolon. Now what it basically means that array index 2 in an indexed array, array index 2, which is this one, 0, 1, 2, is now replaced with 200. So if I press S, this is replaced. Now in order to print this, if I come back here, the new number is, and then array number, let me print 2 here. Okay, so let's just print 2 here first. So initially 2 is this, then we change the number 2 and then we print it. So if I come back into my code, hit a refresh, now you see this thing. Okay, so initially number 3 was printed because 2 is at this index, so 0, 1, 2 index. So in an index, automatically index numbers are assigned. So 2 index is 3, so it printed 3. Then what we did, we changed the index. So you can change the variable's value as you prefer. We go into echo statement and then we print the value after we have changed it. Now it is 2000. So you can change the variable values as well. But for example, if you need to print all these values, it's a long step. You want to print every single variable value manually, will take even more time. So what we do is we use a loop. So in form of loop, what we do, we use for each loop. Okay, so we use for each loop. For each loop is basically or specifically used for arrays, in which it reads the array elements and processes it. In this case, we give it something called dollar array number. Okay, so we pass it this variable, then we give as, and then we give our test variable. Okay, now what happened here is that we said that go and read this element as a test variable. That's it. Now other coding is required. It will automatically go and print. So if I go into echo and quotation start br and close this statement, and then for each reply is okay. So I'm just changing the text content here a little bit, and then we use a dollar at the rate array number. Oh, sorry, but instead of array number now, because we have used array number previously, I will not use array number. I will just simply use test and hit semicolon without any brackets. What happens here is that for each loop is a special type of loop that has a lot of things going automatically at the back end, specifically used for arrays. What for each loop does, that it reads the array one by one, stores the array element in test variable, and then we use this test variable with the dollar sign. Okay, so we use a test variable like a normal variable without any array sign. Again, what for each loop does is that it says go inside this array, read the first element, assign that value to test, then we process that. Then the next time loop comes, it automatically evaluates, is there any other element inside the array? So yes, there is. Then assign that value to test, okay, and then print this variable. So once if I press S, come back here, hit a refresh, you would find that for each loop reply, all the variable values are now automatically printed. So instead of printing the variables value manually, we print the variables like here. Okay, so this is how basically we use this array to print the data. A very simple thing. Same thing can be done in associative array as well. So you do not require or need to know the number or whatever the value is. Okay, so this is what basically what arrays does. Now obviously there are various different functions and various different things that we are able to do within our arrays. Okay, just remember that associative array and declaration form, we use this. In terms of functions and methods of an array, I have a quick presentation. Let me go through this thing very quickly. So you can use something called size of as well. So if I just close this and close this, so we have a number available. So you can use something called size of, okay, or count. They return the number of elements in an array. So for example, if I have an array called family array Fred, Wilima and Pebbles, I can use a method called size and count, and it will return me the number of elements within that particular size. These functions do not consult any numeric indexes either. So it can be, for example, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That doesn't matter. It only counts the number of elements within that particular array. Similarly, there is something called size of. Size of again gives me the size of that particular array. Okay. Then we have a method called range. You can also create an array with a range of values by using the following function. $year, we declare an array. We use a method called range. Instead of using array, we use a range, and then we specify this as 2001 to 2010, and we give it a step as variable. Here step is a positive number which has a default value of 1. Step is used for number of increments. What happens now is that this variable will now automatically be declared with what we refer to as a range of given values. Let me show you that. So if I come back here and I declare this variable years, now what happened here is that we declared a variable years with 200, okay, 2001 at 2002, and we give it a step. Step is a variable or built-in variable inside, and it will automatically be 1, and which basically means that every time it steps, just increase this variable value to from 1 point. Now if I print this variable's value for each bracket start bracket close, block start block close, dollar yer is years, as dollar number, okay, and then we come back here and is echo print years space dot and just dollar number, okay, with again br. Now what we did here is we create an array or with a range feature, which basically mean it will automatically create an array of this range from 2001, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, the increment is done based on the step, which by default has a value of 1. You can change this as well. Now we use a loop to print this variable's data. So if I come back into my code and hit a print, this is what you get, the print here. See, this increment is done automatically. We get an error at some point, I don't know why. Maybe we left out something unintentionally. Okay, you undefined constant step. Okay, so it's not been defined variable. Anyway, so I think we haven't defined it properly, so we define this variable and by default it has value 1. Dollar, I think we can say step is equals to 2, and it would do that, for example. Okay, so this is range method. Then we come inside the list. You can retrieve several values at once from an array with a list function. The list function copies values from an array onto a variable. For example, colors, we declare a variable called colors is equal to, we declare an array red and green. Then list red dot green is equal to colors. What now happens is that it automatically assigns the variables to these variable lists. Okay, it auto reads the colors, okay, and it goes into 0 index. Whatever in 0 index will be assigned to the red variable, whatever is on the 1 index will be assigned to the green index. Okay, similarly, if I come into array slice basically is used to split an array. So for example, you can split an array by creating a new array that contains a subset of an existing array. Works same as substr for string. So if you have been using string, within a string we have something called substr function that splits a certain portion of a string. Here we use array slice. The way we use it is we declare a new variable or new array variable, and we use a method called array slice, and we give it an array name which we want to split, the start index and the length of it. Okay, and it will create an array split for it. Similarly, array merge, you can merge 2 or more arrays together. Use it, we again create a new array or a new array variable. We use array merge, array 1 and array 2, and it will merge 2 or multiple arrays together to form one complete array. Similarly, if I come into array sum, to add all values in an array, you use the sum function. So in order to calculate, if you have multiple variable values, you put it inside an array, and we use a sum function, array sum, which will add all the integer numbers within an array and give you final output. Okay. Similarly, array unique removes duplicate items from an array, so it will automatically create a unique array. So for example, if you are using something in terms of an online form that requires to enter the data, but you only want a unique names to be identified, you save all the data inside an array and use an array unique feature to create a new array. What it will do, it will automatically remove all the duplicate entries within that array and create a new array from it. Okay, so it's a very nice way of working with that. Similarly, array flip, to swap the key and values, use the following function. So if you are using associative array, array flipped is used to swap the key and element array for whatever purpose that may be. Okay, so whatever is now key becomes the element, and whatever is the element becomes the key. Array flip elements. And similarly, there are dozens of other methods and ways you can use arrays within PHP. Okay, I hope you understand this, and if any other problem, do let me know in the comments down below. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe the channel. This is Dr. Zeeshan signing off.